Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Spare Notes series. I'm Matt Tobacco from SpokenTobacco.com, and I am joined once again, even though he's not on screen. That's fine. Take your time, Coop. Mr. William Cooper of Cigar Coop. See, now there you come. Did I rush you through your soup? He was finishing his dinner. That's what it was.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. No, you didn't rush me at all. It was bad timing more on my end. It's been a marathon day,
Coop,
so,
if you want to step
so
off
I have like
video
two.
and finish your soup, go right ahead. I'll
No,
stall.
it's all done. It's all done. So I'm all good. It was good. The wife made a very nice soup, and I just wanted to do. She's really great about these like podcast Saturdays, so I can't thank her enough.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I
Plus she gets
mean,
rid of me for the evening, so that's
yeah.
good.
See, she knows every Saturday. She's like, yeah, Will's doing his videos and his podcast. I got me time. He won't be able here. He won't be around to
Today's
bother me.
four. Today's four today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, me and you were both on KMA this morning. You have Jukebox. You
Yep.
have this, and then what else did you do today? Oh,
I'm
you have the
doing the
one tonight.
smoking whereby.
That's right.
Yeah, and what happened with that is because we went off schedule. This was scheduled like weeks ago, and we went off schedule because of TPE, unfortunately. Or
Right.
fortunately, or you were stuck out there, which I guess wasn't a bad thing. So
I wasn't really
so
stuck.
yeah, so it was.
I just stayed in my future home a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was. I felt we all had sympathy for you out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. I wasn't too angry about it.
No, I mean you sound like you all had a great time, and there's a lot there's a lot worse places you could be stuck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Imagine being from like the Southwest or Florida, where it's warm, and you were here and you got stuck and you had to stay here through a snowstorm before you could go home to your warm climate home that you actually live in. Now that would suck. So
Yeah, but there were people I knew who were hoping to get like their flights canceled and didn't. Like, there's a few people I know. Like, I really wouldn't mind if my flight's canceled. I'm like,
ours was canceled, so I was like, and I wasn't mad about it when I saw the thing. I was like, well, now well.
yeah, no. I got stranded in Dallas in 2015 in an ice storm, and it is before I knew a lot of people. I didn't know Jay back then, that's for sure. Or Bear. And basically we couldn't get out for 5 days.
Wow, that
Uh,
sucks. That
yep.
sucks. That's
Yep, it was
horrible.
bad. It was bad, yeah. And that was they had a freeze, and they couldn't de-ice the planes was the problem. They had a deep freeze that happened there.
Well, did you see what happened to Jack Tarano last night?
I was with Jack Tarano yesterday,
What?
right before we went to the airport. I was with him. Yeah, so I saw that. Yeah, I just saw that this morning. Apparently, he had a bunch of delays too.
So I was commenting along with him, and I was like, "Well, at this point, just take your mask off and refuse to put it back on. They'll definitely get you off the plane." And he's like, "We've been here so long, they don't even care anymore." And I'm like, "Well, you're fucked."
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh my God! Yeah,
So yeah, I
it's
spent the afternoon with Jack yesterday, which was a lot of fun.
mm. Yeah. I know I made the comment to him too. I don't know how you haven't traveled as much as I have during the pandemic, but man, I gotta say, the airlines right now, like, look, airlines have always been somewhat difficult because no matter how you slice it, they always got you by the balls, and they all do it because they're all in the same boat together, right? When it comes to like cancellations and rescheduling, they get you with the high fee, and it's just like, what's the big deal? And oh no, it's $150 if you want to change your flight, or oh, you want to cancel it now? Oh, well, that's 150
They
bucks.
have
And
those
they,
days are over.
the
Yep.
way they handle the luggage, like I have a suitcase that was fairly new. It's trash now. I picked it up at Logan on Monday morning when I woke up on the plane. When I landed at Logan in Boston, and I come down to the baggage claim. I'm like half awake. I'm like, let's just go home so we can go to bed. Here comes my suitcase down the thing. I go, oh, there it is. I went to grab it. Lid flies open. All my shit goes right out onto the carousel. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh,
The lock got caught or something, because who knows? Ripped the zippers right out. That's trash. I got like 4 trips out of it. I'm like, you know, I make a complaint to them. They're like, oh, you got to go to baggage claim. I go, what do you mean go to baggage? Like, you have to take because I didn't know. I messaged like JetBlue like the next day. They're like, you got to take it back to the airport and you have to go to the baggage claim office and show them the suitcase. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I tried to play it up too. I was like, I don't live near the airport. I'm like 2 hours away. Oh, well, yeah, that unfortunately that is the policy. And I'm like no, like just they don't give a shit. There's been the whole weight of the suitcase thing, mind-boggling. Oh, it's 51 pounds, sir. Let's make it a little bit bigger. It's 55 pounds, sir. You have to take 6 pounds out of it. And I'm like, all right, where am I gonna put it? You can put it on your carry-on. It's still fucking going on the plane. Who cares?
Yeah,
Or they'll charge you $300 for an overweight bag.
That's just ridiculous. It's just, I understand these airlines have like slim profit margins, but they don't, unfortunately, customer service really doesn't matter anymore. You have a lot of this is what happens with consolidation, unfortunately. So, you hear someone say, I'm never going to fly XYZ again. Unfortunately, that's like not true. You're gonna.
Yeah.
And
you know what?
And they know it.
Like I fly a lot of JetBlue flights. I've flown on every airline. I've flown American, Delta, JetBlue. I've flown Spirit before. I think I've flown United. They're all the same. They're all the same.
Yeah, they're all.
And everyone goes, American, American. Dude, they're all the same. They all do the same shit.
They're all the same.
It's all the same games.
It is.
It's all the same tricks. And it's aggravating. And when you fly a lot, for the people who only fly like once every 4 years, fine. That's because you know what? You don't do it enough and whatever. But those of us who fly multiple times a year, it's aggravating.
Yeah.
And oh god, it's horrible. It's horrible. Now I gotta go buy new.
Yeah.
I gotta go buy new luggage now.
Welcome there.
What the frig? Sorry, that's my non-cigar related beef of the week. Airlines.
There you
and
go.
I feel like because of the pandemic too, and all the crap that they've had to deal with it. I look as a corporation and running a business, large or small, I get it. It's sucked for everybody, right? All industries. But I feel like through this pandemic, it's kind of just like I don't care anymore with them. That's their attitude. Like I don't care anymore. Are you smoking? Are you smoking an LFD football from 2019? Yeah. All right. I had a few
right
of
on the
those,
money, man.
And I was actually looking for that specific cigar in one of my humidors because I wanted it, and I was looking. I'm like, I can't find it, and I'm like, I thought I had a few in here. So I don't know if Nicole smoked them or if Carney grabbed them last time he was here. I don't know, but I know I had those, and I was so bummed because I was like, oh, those were really good. But
they were.
I grabbed
spoke
an
to
LFD.
2020 just on Jukebox. Yeah. So football theme I'm going with. Obviously. So yeah, this is the box press one they did, like the factory press.
So
really
good. So good.
We were talking about these on Jukebox. We had Fred Rui as a guest, and Fred made a point that I think you and I agree with. These are just not something that LaFleur puts together. Like this is a project they take a lot of time every year. They deliver a really good blend, a lot of nice artesian work on this cigar. So and this is it's quintessential LaFleur Dominicana you get with this as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm smoking a Room 101 11th anniversary right now, but I have backup smokes too. I have Julia Caesar Toro, and I have the LFD Colorado Oscuro.
Always a good choice, that Colorado Oscuro.
So good. And I remember when I first had it, because I didn't really know about it at the time. This was years ago. And Carney was like, well, have you had the Colorado Oscuro? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, bro. And he gave me a couple of them. He's like, you got to try them. I'm like, all right. And I was like, whoa, these are awesome. And he was like, right? And that's probably in my top 5 for LFD cigars.
Yeah. To put how much I've been doing this, right? I was at the trade show where they launched that for the first time.
What year was that?
2011.
Yeah, I wasn't quite.
And and it was a stand. That was a big trade show for LaFleur Dominicana that year. And that was one of the stars for sure.
Yeah, I love LFD, and I really hope that they come to PCA this year because I want to see John at a trade show. That's it.
And they're missed. They're missed at the trade show.
They're so missed. You were missed at TPE last week, and at Friday night when the show was over, we all got together, and we sent a group photo of a lot of the media guys together, and we said, "Coop, we're missing you." And
I was very touched. I was incredibly touched. You don't know how much that meant.
But you were. I mean, we were talking about you all week, and it wasn't bad stuff. It was like, man, if only Coop was here. Like, oh, I wish Coop was here for that. I'm like, oh man, there was just something off about the media group, the usual group of us who hang together. Um, and it was like, man, it was like Coop's not here. Bear too. The
And,
same with Bear. I mean, it was like, Coop and
yeah,
Bear are not here, and it just, it wasn't the same. Honestly,
no, I mean, we- we'll have a presence there next year. I'm hoping it will be all of us. Scheduling this may present some challenges with the show moving next year to February. So I'm hoping those challenges we can avoid and everyone can be there. But we may have, if there's some conflicting stuff with Pro Cigar and with TGS, we may have to split it up, unfortunately. Or
yeah, that's a
'cause it may
shame.
be hard to do both. Yeah. So, and I understand why they're moving this as well. But I kind of felt this morning we kind of had a little bit of a virtual get there. I felt really cool when doing the KMA with you guys this morning, which was a really nice thing to do.
Yeah, it was great. If you missed it, KMA Talk Radio, with Honest Abe himself and Alex Tabella the Goat. Um, it was us. How about that cigar? Eric from Dojo, the Master
So
Sensei,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Coop was there as well. And wait, was there one more? Am I forgetting someone? It was me,
No,
you.
it was
Yeah, it
it.
was me, you, Eric, and and Matt and Garrett. Yeah, yeah, it was
Yep,
great.
yep.
It was a lot of trade show talk, which we will get into tonight on this show. Try not to make it all about the trade show, but obviously this is our first our first spare notes post TPE, so there is stuff we have to talk about. So where do you even want to start with this? You know what? Let's just get into the TPE shit right away. We'll bang it out,
Yeah, those were on it. Yeah,
and while we're on it, while it's fresh, and then we'll move on from it, so that way we don't bore everyone with it. But and I know we have Jay Davis watching with us. Jay, it's always awesome to have you here. We love having you here. We love having all of you guys here. Jay always
yeah.
provides some really great commentary, some
Yeah.
feedback, as well as Gracie's here. Thank you, Gracie, for watching.
Thank
Dan,
you. Yeah, it's not
Ron,
taken for granted that you guys tune in. Yeah,
yeah, no,
it
really,
really is.
Tyler, we love it when you guys watch, and we're on
Yeah,
YouTube, we're on live on YouTube as well. So to everyone watching over there, and to everyone who will listen later on podcast platform, thank you
yep,
again for
absolutely.
continuing to support us, and all we do. We really appreciate it. We don't say it enough, but when I
We
remember,
don't.
I bring it up because it is important.
I do too. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
you guys could be doing other things, so
that's
it's
true.
like,
Yeah, we
it's
appreciate you giving us
yeah. Then hearing that,
your valuable time. Because as someone who's
yeah,
very
yeah,
busy myself, I know what that's like. So thank you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but anyway, having said that, um,
Let
I,
me thank you also and Nicole for coming on last Thursday
oh yeah,
on short notice on a busy day. That it meant a lot. Garrett and Aaron Rumis and John McTavish also did it, and Matt Garrett, I mentioned them as well. Yeah, it was appreciated, and it really it helps. I mean, it just helped because we weren't there, but we were able to kind of give a taste of it through our really good friends on Isaiah's on the ground. So thank you guys as well.
yeah, no problem. We're always glad to help out
Yeah,
and be on with
yeah.
Coop. I would skip my own birthday party for you, Coop. Come on.
Good.
But you weren't at TPE. Most of us from the media were. You weren't there. Ben wasn't there. Bear wasn't there. But I think almost everyone else was, with the exception of print media.
Aaron was there, but he was with Developing Palettes,
Yep.
so he has his own thing to do there. So,
Right.
but yeah, he was there. But so he was the only one from the Coop team was there, but he wasn't. But he's representing him. He needs to represent himself there. That's the key thing with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know you kind of you watched the show from a distance. You didn't walk the show,
Yeah.
but I think you have enough of a pulse on what happened at TPE to really engage on a post trade show conversation.
Yep.
One of the big things I'm going to bring it up because it's at the front of my mind, especially with Jay watching here, and being a part of the Premium Cigar Association. This is a good topic for him to listen in and chime in on too, because I'm sure he'll have some good feedback, and how it could relate to PCA. Biggest thing you pointed out to me first, but I did see it firsthand, and I know some of the characters, suitcasing the trade show floor. Now, the first person to really be vocal about this, Mickey Pegg of All Saints. Love Mickey to death. And if you haven't tried All Saints cigars, get them. They're good. So you got people, manufacturers. Usually it's a small manufacturer who will attend the trade show and will walk the trade show floor with their order forms and their samples, but they won't have a booth. Now, Nicole has pointed this out and made this very clear, so I'm going to make the point because if not, she'll just be screaming about it through her phone. TPE, to some degree, from what we've seen, I wouldn't say promotes this, but also doesn't discourage it either. They do sell a non-exhibiting pass for manufacturers and companies. It's a lot more money, but they'll let you come in and walk around the trade show floor. That is the policy of TPE. That is not the policy of PCA. And I know that people have been talked to and confronted and kicked out of the PCA trade show for doing this practice. So, I mean, I guess at TPE, if they're allowing it to some degree, there's really not much you can say. It's a frowned upon practice, I would say, but
Yeah.
if they're not gonna like really frown too hard on it, and that's just kind of that, hey, we allow it here, there's really not much you can say. You just try to deal with the best you can. However, at PCA, which is also a very different show, that's not allowed. And some of these characters I saw at TPE, I also saw at PCA last year, handing out order forms on the trade show floor, and they had no booth. Now, Coop, I will let you speak on this topic as well because I know you have some of your own feelings too.
Yeah. So I can't comment on anything with TPE, other than I'm gonna, you obviously found out what the policy is. I wasn't aware of what the policy is in any case, and obviously I didn't see anything, so I can't comment on it. I'm just hearing what I heard from some other people. It has been a problem at the PCA, and here's the bad part: is unfortunately there are some people who go to this trade show without booze and have legitimate intentions of networking, and they don't do trade show orders. I'll give you a really good example. Like Casa Cuevas is a great example. They have not been doing that. But they go because they have a factory and they have relationships in the business. And and Luis was very careful this year about how much time he even spent on the trade show floor. So unfortunately, some of these guys who would, you are allowed to go. Luis is allowed to go, but obviously the rule is you don't suitcase at the trade show.
Right.
Now we've taken as Cigar Coop, our policy has been, we will not give you media coverage if you're not exhibiting. And it's a matter of, one is we want to respect the rules of the PCA trade show, but two is it's unfair if we don't get to someone with a booth who spent a lot of money there, because we ended up taking time from something else. So we don't want, it's kind of like we do that. I don't frown upon anyone. Here's the thing: I don't know what the rule is about media talking to people on the trade show floor, but in my opinion, like, if someone's there, media has a right to talk to people, right? And there's people who, like, there's retailers who go, and sometimes you may want to interview that retailer, right, for your show.
Right.
So, so I think it's more of a common sense thing. Look, there were a couple of guys at PCA, they were in the guise, they were pretending to be in other booths, and we've seen that. And it's a bad thing. I'll even give you another story, because I know there was a guy who took an RV to the PCA back in 2012. And he was setting up meetings in the parking lot at the Orlando Convention Center, and they busted him. Right? So it was still on the ground.
That's ballsy. I'm sorry, that's ballsy.
Yeah. Now, you can't stop someone from going to a hotel room and placing an order.
That's
true. And that does happen. You can't stop that, all right? But as long as you're not taking away from someone on the floor, you can't. I don't think it's, I'm not going to go after those people. But we've seen these people. I know there's been warnings issued in the past, and on some of these people, and I know, like, we've brought it up several times to Scott Pierce, and I know this year they had that they had a place you could text and basically be the rat. It's like, guess what happened?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I can't comment on what TPE's policy is on that, because I don't know it. And I haven't been at TPE in 2 years. So I don't think it's right you shouldn't be suitcasing on there, as I say.
So
you shouldn't be.
One thing I want to make clear is to those in the business who know about this and whatever. There was 2 people that I know of for sure who are manufacturers who are on that trade show floor. But they were not suitcasing. And it was for the same reasons as, like Luis Cuevas, who, look, they're at the trade show, they're not exhibiting, and they're not trying to sell anything. They're meeting with like manufacturers and factories and other people. They're meeting with business people and kind of just taking advantage of everyone being in town together, and it's easy to communicate, right? But they weren't walking around talking to retailers like, "Hey, you want to order my stuff? I don't have a booth. Here's a form." No. Matt Booth was there. He was there for like a day, maybe a day and a half, and that was
Hmm.
it. He was there. I think he mostly was meeting with some fellow manufacturers. Was not suitcasing whatsoever. Was not even talking to
I would
retailers.
never even. He would never
Um,
even if. Yeah, no one. He's
yeah,
not a guy who would do
he
that.
he was he was he was kind of doing other business there, and I think
Yeah.
socializing too. The other one was Sin Coburn, one of the new owners, the face of Dissident Cigars. She was there, and the reason why she went, even though she was not exhibiting, was just kind of to take in the show. I don't think that she'd ever been to TPE. So as a new manufacturer, who's trying to plot out the future for the brand, I think her intentions were like, hey, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna let people see my face now that they've kind of heard the news and they kind of get to meet me and just know like, hey, this is who I am. Wasn't taking any orders whatsoever, but just was kind of there and also taking in the show just to kind of see for herself what it's like. They had been to PCA
Is it worth?
before.
Is it worth me going next year? Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's
Yeah.
totally fair to go and scope out the
Totally
show. To
fair.
like,
Yep.
hey, maybe next year, do I spend the money to come here, or maybe I feel like what, it's not big enough or something. So that's why she was there. But there were two individuals who were there. One of them even approached me on numerous occasions, trying to get me to push stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. And then I had to be like, look, you know what? This isn't my business. I'm here to do the media. I don't want to get wrapped up in this. And like enough's enough. Like, look, could I get into brokering and selling and all that on the side? Like, sure. I don't want to. It's not my area. It's not my lane. I want to stay with the media. I don't want to deal with that shit. So I've had this happen to me firsthand as well on the trade show floor. PCA last year, I had someone approach me at the bar, at the Circle Bar at Palazzo. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, well, tell me about your brand or whatever. And then it was like, oh, well, if you can get people with me. And I'm like, see, I don't play that game. I don't do that.
Yeah.
If you're here, you want to talk to me about your brand, you want to educate me, you want to give me a sample so I can at least try the brand. Sure. Maybe you want to come on the show. If I like you, okay. But don't ask me to be like pushing your cigars because I'm not doing that. It's just not my game.
Yeah. Speaking from the PCA point of view, in your media, there's even rules the media is expected to follow. I mean, so the media is technically not supposed to be soliciting business
Yeah.
on the trade show, but you're there to cover it now. So that means you shouldn't be selling calendars, you shouldn't be selling advertising. I mean, if someone inquires about it, I'll say, yeah, here, let's have a conversation after the trade show. But or have a conversation at the bar at night, which I did do, at the bar. But in general, those types of things are frowned upon. You're not there to do those types of. Your job is to deliver coverage. You're given media credentials. So as far as like moving another brand, it's like I think this is where this gray line between influencer and media sometimes happens. And we're very. I've really kind of defined that. I've tried to draw a line in the sand on that, where we don't do influencer activities per se, as much as we focus on media type of activities in terms of what we'll do.
Mm-hmm.
We have advertising on the shows and stuff like that, but but that's kind of really where we end it. Like if you come to me and say, hey, if someone clicks on your website, like we don't allow our retailers to pay us on commission. And I don't accept, this is always a big one. I don't accept discount codes
Yeah.
even. Because I don't want anything tied in with a sale. And plus it pisses my other retailers off. So I don't want anything tied in with a sale on this. We're giving you, basically it's a flat rate advertising. That's what we do. Because and I'm still surprised that people would approach you on that. I think if they know you, they should know that's not what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I could see someone else who's in that influencer category. Certainly, I could see that, right? Them do it, but no, you wouldn't approach Dave Savona on that thing from Cigar Aficionado.
So another thing that I will say, you touched on advertisement. And advertisement does get talked about at the trade show.
Sure.
Because people ask and they.
But we're not
inquire.
signing contracts there. Yeah, we're not signing contracts there.
No, So what happens is, Nicole's dad's a printer, so he prints all of our stuff. We have pamphlets,
Yeah.
we have bound booklets, nice little presentation booklets with our whole media kit in it. And someone will say, "Oh, hey, we'll talk about advertising. We'd love to get in with you guys." I give them all of our paperwork, our booklet, and I go, "Here, you know what? This is all of our information. Look at it, review it. Call me. You want to buy advertisement? You want to do something? Great." And that's worked. I don't sit down with people and sell it and sign contracts and get into it.
No,
I just go,
no, no.
here's the packet with all the information. I go, just take it and
Right.
run. And we'll talk about it at a later time. I feel that that's the most, because I'm always gonna be like, oh, I can't talk advertisement. I'll give them something that they can review later, and I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, even if they let us do that, right? At PC, I don't know what the TPE rules, by the way, on that. But even if they let us do that at PCA, I don't want to have that conversation because you know how time constraints we are to begin with. So that's just eating up into time on the
Oh
floor
yeah.
to deliver our end deliverables, which is coverage, is whether it's video or written. So again, we kind of have to rule or not, it's not something that we want to be doing. Just because we have plenty of time to do that after the show. And by the way, you'll be much more focused after the show to do that.
Mm, absolutely. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into an hour and a half conversation going through. Sorry, I got a stem in my mouth. Yeah, I don't want to be sitting down on a valuable. I mean, the trade show. I mean, we're busy, busy, busy from the first minute that the show opens to the last day that they close the doors. We're busy. The last thing I want to do is get into hour conversation, over advertisement structure and all of this, and trying to pick out a package, and then oh, well, let's sign the contract. Let me, like it.
Yeah.
That just eats up too much time. I'm glad to do it with manufacturers. Absolutely, just not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
think most of the people that I work with have respected that.
Yeah.
And then you get people who are currently sponsors, and yeah, they want to take an extra few minutes to just chit chat and check in. That's
Yeah.
fine. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would agree on that.
Yeah. And look, not to the other thing I'll just say is I have not taken the packs into the show. Um, for the sole reason that I do consider it a confidential information I'm sharing with them,
Mm.
and kind of asking them like if I'm giving you pricing, that's confidential. So I don't want that lying around on a table or something like that.
Oh yeah, and we're very
Just to get yeah,
and usually when
yeah,
we give that out, it's because we know someone's genuinely.
someone's gonna do yeah,
It's probably
exactly.
gonna happen. We don't just hand them out like free candy. I mean, I think at
No,
PCA,
I can imagine.
I think two were given out at PCA, and one of them bought. So, and it's not too hard to figure out who it is. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, trying to find a way to minimalize it while still being professional. Um,
yeah, agree. Agree. I mean,
yeah,
look, we still have a business to run. I get that, but again, I think our job, like I said, we have such limited time, and now TPE is turned into a show, which it sounds like from talking to all the guys. A lot of times, a couple of years ago, we were hanging out at booths just smoking with people because there wasn't a lot of stuff to cover.
right.
Now it's changed. Now it's changed. It's gotten a lot more. It's gotten busier. There's more products to talk about. There's more stakeholders there. So it's changed a lot. Yeah.
TPE was it was very busy for us. It's not like the PCA, but there was still enough there where we had to make sure we got to everything we wanted to get to. And I think we got to probably the majority of what we wanted, and then a few extras. Um, PCA last year, you know, I looking back, we could have done a better job. There's more that we could have gotten to.
First year. It was your first year. You did
Yeah.
great for the first year.
So going into this
Yeah.
year, we're gonna double what we did last year, even if there's more people there, because we already know like where we wasted time. We know what mistakes we made. We'll be in a much better position, um, you know, for this year. TPE, I thought it was gonna be much slower from what everyone told me, but once we got there and after the first hour when they let everybody in, it was like, wow, this is not what people told me. This is slammed.
Oh, it
Um,
was much slam, more
it was
slammed, yeah, from
very
what I heard.
slammed. Sorry, my throat was
I
dry.
don't. No, that's all right. I don't know if we would go in and do video coverage at TP next year. I mean, it's still something to debate. I mean, I think there's another niche that we can hit, which is, how we do the booth coverage, and I think I may focus on that. But if I find out there's like 60 new products next year going in, maybe I will. So I mean, I think there's other ways that the show, like it was very heavy video focus this year. It was it was almost all slanted towards video coverage, which I thought was interesting. But I see PCA has gone the same route too, so that's consistent.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, I wasn't even when we started doing, the video last year. I wasn't even thinking about anyone else doing video. Um, it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, hey, video coverage is something I want to do because it lets people peer into somewhere where they couldn't see, and people like that. People like watching videos. Um, the biggest thing that I noticed from a lot of people, and look, I'm not hating on anyone because all the guys who are doing it I know personally and I love them to death. Um, it's just a critique that I have. One thing I noticed that is different from what we do versus what a lot of other guys people do. People were doing them like live streamed. And
I would never do it
the
live.
only issue with that is like the signal is like not always the best. So
But they've had good Wi-Fi when I was there 2 years ago, and they had it last year. So something went wrong this year. But a lot
yeah,
can go wrong with that. Yeah,
and I know that some guys had some issues with Wi-Fi. And then what happens is it brings the video quality down. Um, and I get it, and it's a little more streamlined. It's a little quicker and easier. The video's up there right away. Um, and you know what? And if that's what they want to do, and they got a lot of other stuff to do, and it makes it quicker and easy for them.
yeah,
Whatever works for you, that's fine. I'm not gonna say
yeah.
like, oh, they shouldn't do that. I just personally, I like to record and upload later. I'm so um, I don't want to. I hate using anal, but like I don't know how else to say it. But like I'm very picky on like quality. Um, it's just
Oh, yeah,
it's something I've always had. I mean, my father was a perfectionist. My mother's a perfectionist. So growing up, it was always um, always like trying to make it perfect, trying to make it perfect. So to me, like that's just something that's just part of me. So like even with the show, like I will get fidgety if I don't feel that my video feed is good enough, the audio is good enough. I know people are listening; they don't want to hear background noise. And a lot of people go, "Oh no, you look great," and it's to me, it's like I need it to be like the best that I can do,
yeah,
even if it's just for me. And it's not even like it's not like an ego thing or anything like that. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. It's not like that at all. For me, it's just like, I was brought up on like make it the best that you can. So that's for me. That's why I get so nuts about it. Just it's my own OCD problem. You know, that's that's where it comes from for me.
yeah.
So that's why I do it. But yeah. But when you gotta rely on the Wi-Fi at the trade show center, that can be rolling with the dice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, live won't work for us the way we kind of cover it at Coop because the website's still our biggest bread and butter. So the written
Right.
coverage is very important. The photography is very important. And then we integrate the video into there. And look, at PCA, we spread it out 5 to 6 weeks because we have a good chunk of content. And we maintain it. So, um, I don't think we would ever do live, but I'll say this: hats off to the guys who did do it live because it's
Yeah.
not easy.
No, it's
Yeah,
not,
I
and they
mean,
did a good job
yeah,
doing it, and they worked really
they did.
hard at it.
Yeah,
So it's not to take away that.
yeah,
That's not what this is. I don't want anyone later to be like, "Oh, he was shitting on the life." No, 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 no. That's not what this is.
yeah,
It's just why I don't do it. But if it works for you, that's fine.
yeah.
I'm just
But
like I said, I'm just too like OCD about like how I do all my things, and I like to have more control. It's tough to have control when you're live.
yeah,
Um,
it's tough to have control when you're live. When I saw one, and I think it was a dojo video. Their first one had no sound, but they went back and did it again, which was good. But and these things happen, and it's um, like I said, I was surprised with the Wi-Fi problems because, like I said, the Wi-Fi in general has been always, like I said, it was great 2 years ago for me. I uploaded a Carl Lamone interview up in the media room. It took, um, it went pretty fast. So, you know, um, And that's the other thing. I'll just say the media room. Like, I'm so glad that TP doesn't push people to go to the media room for interviews. To me, you have to be at the booth and you have to be catching the vibe of the show. Those interviews would not be the same if they were not in front of a booth. And I tell people,
I
because
agree.
every year you hear, let's do a press conference. No, we don't want to do like you want to do a press conference with Scott Pierce. That's one thing. I do not want to do a press conference in a separate area. I want to be at the booth. I want to see the vibe of that thing, and I want to see the products displayed as they're displayed to everyone else there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're trying to when you do video, right? Um, even if you're just taking photos, right? You're trying to encapsulate the whole the ambiance, the vibe, the feel. You want to see the
Yeah,
presentation of the
yeah,
booth and the product on display,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it just sets the tone. I agree. I think that and the people who are watching those videos and looking at those photos, they want to see it too. That's kind of the whole. That's not all of it, but that's
They
half the battle. They want to see it. Like, oh, look at the booth. Oh, that's crazy. Like, oh, look at all that stuff. Like,
right.
they want to see it. They don't want to see
You
you
know,
like in a white room, just like. And we have this cigar coming out, which will be really cool. And at the next show, we will have we will have this cigar available, and then
yeah, they don't
that's
want to
it.
see that.
It's dry. It's
Yeah,
dry.
yeah. And I'm going to say this. This is where I get into some. There's a lot we could talk about with this, but it was really the media was like attracted to the trade show. There was a demand created because when social media started, manufacturers and retailers were posting pictures of this trade show, and
Mm,
people wanted to get more of it. Right? That's how it led to the online media going there.
right.
Because they were only getting it through Aficionado, who was publishing it through Cigar Insider at the time, right? And there was no picture of the trade show. And then look, I have Ben Lee. He was doing this back in 15, 16 years ago, before anyone else with video. So, he was one of the first guys, and that market was created for that. But Matt, isn't it funny how none of the retailers complain about media or TPE, but they find a way to complain about it at PCA? I find that interesting.
Well, this point was brought up today on KMA.
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
not specifically what you just said, but
I know where you're going. No,
I
yeah.
think the reason is when there seems to be, I can't remember who brought it up. It was either you or Eric or maybe it was Matt. I don't. Well, someone brought it up, but there's this observation that was made that the manufacturers, when they go to TPE, they have a different mentality than when they go to PCA.
Yep.
The mentality at PCA is kind of like this is the Super Bowl, this is the big one, we got to be on
Yep.
point, we got to have the big booth, we got to flex, we got to show that we spent
Yep.
all this money on the booth, blah blah. People go to TPE, they don't spend that money on their booth. They go, they're there to do business. They do take it seriously, 100%. But it's like, it's a smaller show. Like, it's a little more laid back. So it's like, show. We'll do interviews. It's fun. It's a fun
Mm,
event. PCA, it's
Yeah.
like it's too serious. Like, oh no 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 no. It was the point that I think that was made today, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah. I think it was Abel made it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that has, I think, some of it to do with it. And Jay is here, chiming along. Jay, we always love it. First comment I'm seeing. Sorry, I don't really like all the video. I'm much more of a picture and written piece guy, but I'm old. Well, you are an old guy, Jay,
That's
but we
why.
still love you.
That's why we get all the numbers on Coop. 'Cause we have a lot of guys like that. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
also
No.
says I have a complaint. A lot of new media doing live streams at TPE begging for samples and not doing any real reporting. It was a joke, fake media.
Okay. So Jay may get mad at me for saying this. I think every media person has a right to ask for samples as long as they're delivering some sort of coverage. Um, Somehow, even if it's down the road, like what Aaron does, he does a more of a recap show. But being able to see, touch, smell, and try product is very important for media to cover something. So I understand where Jay's going with that. Whereas people, you don't want the trick or treaters there, and that has been a problem with PCA in the past with trick or treaters. In fact, the trick or treaters from 2010 was still paying for their sins, because there were guys who came in there thinking it was like a herf, and that's what they were doing. So Jay's right on that piece, but I've been very vocal that media needs to be able to have access to samples as like anyone else, and the manufacturers need, if they don't want to give them, it's a very simple answer, no.
And Jay replies with, "I agree, Coop, but Half the 90-second interview was asking for samples and getting samples for her boyfriend. It sounds to me
I have
like
to see what the interview is. I'll
yeah,
have to see what the
Jay.
interview is. Yeah.
Jay, it sounds like you might be talking about someone specifically, and I know you probably won't post that publicly, but
Yeah.
um,
But he's
agree,
not
no issue
wrong.
on samples.
There are instances. Yeah, there's instances with that, and he's right. That's a problem. Um, and I don't think asking for samples to take a picture for Instagram is necessarily good either. Because believe me, I don't get that point, right? I
So,
think you have to do something more than that.
so I will say this, right? Most of the time when Nicole and I go to a booth, to be honest with you, I don't give a shit about samples. And I know some people are like, "Oh my god, I
I
don't."
do. No,
I mean,
we only go there for samples.
I mean, I really
Don't you know
don't.
that?
Well, yeah, I know, right? No,
Um,
I really don't because you know what? Here's the thing. Most of the time we go to a booth, I don't even ask. It's just, hey, you guys want some cigars? And I'm like, okay. I mean, if they're just offering
yeah,
them up,
yeah,
sure, like I'll take them. I'm not gonna be like no, but I'm not also asking for them. But it's like for me, it's like then I go home and I got a suitcase full of cigars, and I will smoke them eventually. But it's like it's just so many different things, and we
yeah,
already have so
yeah,
much, and it's just like and you know how it goes, and then you have all these samples, and like you start smoking through half of them, and then you just feel like you have to just smoke them all just to try them all, at least the ones that maybe you've never had before. There was only really one instance when I said to a manufacturer, and this happened at TPE, like, hey, do you have any of these? And the only reason why I'm asking is because they have been so difficult to find, and I did an interview where in the interview I got put on the spot and I got asked my opinion on it, and I said I haven't had it, because it's been
yeah.
inaccessible, and so I went to the company's person who I have contact with, and I was like, do you have any? And the only reason why I'm asking is because, like, from a media standpoint, this is where I kind of get back with you. Like, people are asking me about it now, and I don't know, and I feel like it makes me look dumb, right? Maybe people will disagree, but that's how I feel. So I'm like, I only want to try one just so I can say, like, yeah, like, this is what I think. Like, I'm not just trying to get, whatever. And it was, I got two. I'll get, cool. And me and Nicole each got one. And I only wanted it just so that I know what it's like because it's difficult to find out otherwise. That's it. That's my piece on the samples, really.
Yeah,
I
and
appreciate them. No, I appreciate them, and if someone offers them to me, I'll take them. Because they're offered, and you want to be polite, and sure, like there's nothing wrong with getting a free cigar, but I won't go around asking for them either. If we go to a booth
yeah,
and someone doesn't offer, I won't ask. I'll just be like, okay, cool, thanks.
yeah,
I'm not gonna, you know, it just it's weird for me. I don't even want to ask. It's like whatever. There's more important people there that should have them. So whatever.
we don't like being a review site. It gets a little more complicated because sometimes there's an expectation that you're going to review those samples. So the Coop rule is we don't review any trade show samples. We don't review pre-release anymore. So usually, if I know the person, it's not as much of an issue. But if I don't know the person, I lay down the expectation very upfront. Like, hey, these are not going to be reviewed. We really just want to get a feel for the product. If you choose not to give it to me, that's fine. You could send them to me when they're ready down the road, or we can pick them up. But yeah, we don't review because we've had some really bad things about samples getting problems with samples getting reviewed. And what was really pissing me off this year, that's not saying my beef of the week. I saw some cigars that I know were trade show samples that were on end of the year lists, and because you could see they had the paper bands on it.
Yep.
So that's the problem. Like, I just and again, it's up to I know it's a website's decision, but you can't do that.
So every cigar that I received in Las Vegas that I didn't buy from a humidor at a lounge they're all resting in the humidors right now. I won't touch them.
Yeah.
Because especially it was so dry. You think it's dry at
Yeah.
PZA in the summertime. It's extra dry down there
It's
in the
win-
wintertime. Really dry.
Yep.
I won't smoke those probably for another week. Because I want to make sure that they're as fresh as they can be before I actually, especially like the newer ones, like I said, before I really give them a go. Yeah, I haven't smoked one. Now, like even like, so while we were out there is when they released the Little Big Delicious for Great Smoke. I saw Matt that day, before they went on sale, and he had some, and he gave me one. Sorry if that hurts anybody's feelings. If that one's, but whatever. It's Matt Booth. Whatever.
Oh, what a sin you committed.
I know. It was close enough. You know, it wasn't like he gave it to me 4 months ahead of time. It was the same.
It's an event only cigar. It's not like, come on, yeah. If anyone gets mad at you at that, that's ridiculous.
So, but anyway, but like he's like, hey, like I have Little Big Delicious. You know, if you and Nicole want one, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah. I'm gonna buy a box, and I did. I have a box that I bought. I was like, I'm gonna buy a box, but I think he thought like, hey, if you want to try it, I know they're going out tonight or whatever. But I'm here. But I was like, I'm still not gonna smoke it till I come home. You know what I mean? I brought it home and I put it in the humidor. I'm not gonna smoke them dry. So, I mean, just as an example, like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If someone gave it to me, I ain't smoking it because you smoke it like, oh, it sucks. It's like, no, you got it in a trade show floor. And Luciano from Ace Prime had a hygrometer in his booth at TPE, and the relative humidity was something like 19%, I think.
Oh, I bet. I mean,
I'm like,
I
dude,
bet.
I ain't smoking that. Are you kidding me? I won't even do the cigar justice. I'll make sure it's humidified and then I'll try it.
Yeah. The other thing is that like we will smoke a sample. So trade show samples we will smoke on the podcast, but we'll disclose it's not getting a formal assessment rating or anything like that. But sometimes we will do that with a guest, so at least we can have it makes it a little easier. Again, the purpose of the sample is to get a feel for the product on that more than anything. So we will do that, but in terms of like putting a numeric rating or value rating on it, that won't be done until until the cigars are procured and we have couple different ways that are valid ways to procure it. And I'll tell you one way, for example, I don't accept a cigar from a rep and review it. So that's another thing. It has to go through proper media channels because I want to make sure that if they're sending us samples, they know we have skin in the game and they have skin in the game. That's kind of what I look for. So, but we will smoke them on a show. Yeah, we will. But again, they go through in the summer, I put through about the same period because the humidity is low. And look, there was some I had to toss. I mean, because now I have the little hygrometer to test it, and I sort of had like 30% humidity. I'm like, can't smoke these, It's not gonna do any good. So yeah, they have to do some work with those things too. It's, samples aren't what they cracked up to be.
I even bring I have two like the Pelican cases, right? The little ones that I carry cigars around in. I brought those out, and I knew because I knew I was gonna be getting stuff that I want to bring back. I brought two of those empty, and I stuffed Bovedas in them. And so that way when I did get them, I could put them right inside and seal them shut with the packs. So I could I could already keep them fresh even in transit. Because it is so dry. It is so dry. Now, on the flip side, I wasn't around for this, but a lot of you, like Jay and you, were around when PCA was in New Orleans, where I know you said it was the opposite effect. It was like 90% humidity. It was like raining from the ceiling. It was so moist in there. So you go from being like over humidified to not even close to being enough to keep it like any kind of wet.
Yeah.
So there's no happy medium.
Oh man, I remember just smoking some cigars outside. It was. And it was a nightmare.
Like soaked logs.
New Orleans was a nightmare. I was at 2 shows in New Orleans, and that second one.
Jay says Orlando was the worst, especially at night.
Yeah. I mean, Orlando. I had a different. I rented a house in Orlando too, so that I could smoke in, which was nice. So yeah. So that was. I had a little, but it was. Yeah, I had a little advantage there with that one. But Orlando was bad. He's not wrong. But I also thought Orlando was the best place I've had at a trade show. I still think I thought that was the best locale for me. So just because it was in the East,
It was closer.
And it was. I could drive down there. It was just much easier. So
I'm lighting up the LFD.
And I love Orlando.
I'm sorry, not the cabinet, the Colorado Girl.
There you go.
It's a little dry.
Yeah.
It's just surprising.
It's at this time of the, we're fighting like 30% humidity. And I have a heating system in here, but I have a bay door and I have to open it at times, and then the wind comes in and it kills my berm. I get like a draft in this area. I can't control it.
No, it's
It's
funny.
just like a wind.
We went to Espinoza. We were with Eric, and he was talking about how dry it was, and this wasn't
Bro, it's dry.
this wasn't in the this wasn't
Yeah.
in the video, but it was kind of after. He was like, yeah, it was so dry. He's like, oh, he gave me a sample. Something. He's like, oh, try this. It's really good. Blah blah. And he's like, don't smoke it now though. It's too dry. I'm like, oh, I know. And he was like, look how dry this is. He grabs one out of a box. He takes the cellophane off. He puts it in his mouth. He gives it a light little bite, and the whole thing just cracks right down. It's like trash.
He loves doing that though. Eric will keep a cigar. Eric will keep a cigar in his mouth and not light it up.
Yeah.
He's like famous for that. Yeah. But yeah, that's. But what's worse is when you light it up and it's dry, and then you get that pop. And then the wrapper's just like fractured at that
And
point.
then you just start to see this, and
Yeah.
you're like, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was dry. Moving on to other business. People who attended, people who didn't attend, what the booths were like. We talked a little bit about this on KMA today.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I don't know how I like couldn't find it, but the second day, I was trying to find the Altadis booth, or the Altadis booth, whatever it is. And I remember walking around and being like, where the fuck is it? And I'm like, I can't find it. And I'm like, I thought
There's
it was over
always
here.
one booth like that. There's always one booth like that though.
And I went over to Herklotz because I actually he was like coming back from the bathroom or something. I was Mike, have you seen the
After the dojo interview.
Yeah. And I was like, Mike, have you seen the Altadis booth? And he was like, yeah, I think it's that way, like down there. I'm like, all right. I thought it was over. I'm like, all right. I go down there. I don't see it. I'm like, where the hell is it? I started wandering to the point where I went off the red and I went into the blue, into the CBD, and I'm like, all right, I'm definitely lost now. Come back. I finally found it. It was like nestled in between, actually, it was like near Michael's booth. It was like one booth over, and it was like nestled between, like I think there was like an accessory booth, and then I don't know, but I found it, and it was like tucked away. But like the way that the booth was laid out, I'm like, well, this is why I didn't see it. Like they didn't have any like, I don't know. It wasn't.
It's weird, but it's weird because they always do a good job of booth placement. Like
Yeah.
I've been to enough trade shows with them, so that would be a little unusual, from that standpoint, because they always are very careful where they put their booths, and where people could find it. So.
And then
It's
when
maybe just like yeah.
And then when it came to General, right? Which this is, I mean, it's not a knock on the companies. I mean, but it's like they came, and I was expecting a little bit more of a grandeur from General Cigar, and I walked by and I was like, oh, that's General, and it was a couple of tables, and I was like, oh, is that it, or is there like another booth? I don't know. I was a little disappointed. I'm like, oh, that's it.
I'm completely confused by General, how they approach this TPE trade show. Because of the companies that have announced product in 2022,
Yeah.
no one's announced more product than General, and Fords together. So I don't really understand why you're there and you don't have an opportunity to put a box out of a lot of this stuff. But there's been CAO releases, Punch releases. There's been a new Bolivar Caldwell collaboration, a Diesel release. I mean, why is this not there? I get, and look, I love the people at General, right? But I don't understand who's making these marketing calls. And I know it's not my marketing contact. I can tell you that she's great. So, but I've vented my frustration. And, the other thing is they like sometimes we get these press announcements. They've been better about it this year, where the product's already sitting on the shelf at a retailer before we can like get photos and stuff of it, and it's like and information. So, they just perplex me how they're approaching this. Because to me, they could have the town in Vegas. They could have owned that trade show. They didn't have to invest a lot more in a booth, maybe more. They could have just a little more, and they could have owned the trade show there. So
Yeah, I
I
agree.
understand you want to put the elaborate booth up, but yeah.
Um, question from Gracie in the comments. Why do some big companies not attend? 2 to 3 companies come to mind. Like to hear your opinions. All right. Um, if there's multiple ways to answer that question. If you're talking about TPE versus PCA, there are different reasons. Some of them are the same or similar, but there are a few that are a little different. When it comes to TPE, like we had Pete Johnson on this week from Tatuaje, and the biggest thing from him, I think, was first and foremost, he didn't feel it was really worth the time because he didn't really have anything that he wanted to sell or showcase. Um, I think he also has some. I think he has some skepticism a little bit with like TPE and how it's run and all that. But the most, I think the biggest thing was from him was like, hey, listen, like we just it just was not good timing for us to go. Didn't make sense. I get that. He's a big supporter of PCA. So I know that if there's only one show he's gonna do PCA. You have companies that are similar. They won't go if they don't feel like business wise it makes sense. If they don't have anything to sell, if they don't have anything new to really showcase, and it's just kind of like existing stuff. It's like, well, we can sell what we already have. Without having to go all the way to the trade show, we don't have to exhibit anything. We don't have to, especially some companies are not taking in new customers and clients, because they're maxed out in their capacity, and so this doesn't make sense for them to go and try to meet with and sell to and gain new customers because they can't take anymore. Um, it's all very different. Like LFD. LFD they haven't been to TPE, they haven't been to PCA because they got a lot of back orders, they got a lot of things they're working on. It doesn't make sense for them to spend all that money to fly out there to set up for a trade show to be like, hey, we're not taking in new customers. We're just trying to fill the back orders that you guys have already ordered from last year or the year before. So why go all the way out there to do limited business? That's a huge part of it. Last year with TPE being so close to PCA, you saw a lot of people didn't go to PCA, or they went to PCA and they didn't go to TPE because it was like, why am I going to go to 2 trade shows 8 weeks apart? Luckily, that's really not the case this year, so that's a little bit of a mulligan, I would say, because that's not usually the case. Then when you have PCA, there are the 4 big companies who don't go, which is vastly different and has nothing to do with product availability. That's a whole separate issue that those companies
Yeah, that's
have.
a political issue. That's a political issue with the organization more.
Correct.
Why they're not there.
That's why they don't go. So you won't see Altitus General, Davidoff, Drew Estate at PCA because of those reasons. And how they do their business is how they do their business. That's the decision that they make. I don't think we're really going to get into the nitty gritty of those reasons, just for the sake of time. There's other things I want to cover, and that'll take up a long time. But in a nutshell, that's really the reason. Coop, I'll let you speak on that too.
Yeah. You said a lot of well. Like I said, the PC. I think it's a political fight. There's a little bit of the politics that go on at TPE because that is a privately run show put on by Cretech. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with a private group putting on a convention. Look, I worked for IBM for almost 25 years, and we put on trade shows a lot. Microsoft puts on trade shows. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I guess some people look at like Cretech, who puts it on, as their competition. I think with LaFleur, it's interesting. They have I don't think they'll ever go to TPE, at least in the near future, because again, and we talked a lot about this on KMA this morning, but again, I don't think that's the market they're looking to sell into still, which is still a lot of the convenience store pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they do. But it was interesting. Altitus still had that Bed of Roses humidor there, right? Which you would think that would be no place to have it, but I'm sure they made some sales of that thing too. So
yeah,
companies approach it differently. There are companies that don't go because they are, like you said, very loyal to the PCA. And a couple of years ago, there was some awards given out, and that's how they tried to get they got some folks to come out to accept the awards. And I think everyone was really grateful that who got those awards who weren't at the show. But some people flew in for those awards, I'll tell you that. But They just feel that that's not the model for their business, and so you got. I mean, it's a shame we're not back to the days like 2018 when everyone was under we assumed everyone was going to PCA or IPCPR back then. I miss those days. I hope we get back to that where 95% of the industry's there. But yeah, you're right. That we could do shows. There are some Coop shows if you go back to early 2020 where we really covered the whole Big Four pullout as well.
Oh yeah.
We have interviews with big players. We had Glenn Wolfson on our show who runs Drew Estate. So we've had a lot of different folks with different. We have Rafael Nadal, who's a
Altus.
supporter of the TP. Yeah, Altus. They were there. But we've had people, like Pete Johnson, Alan Rubin. And Alan Rubin interviews were those guys are very pro PCA.
Yep.
And they had a different spin on things. So it was kind of, there's a lot of content we have out on that too. Yeah. So just definitely check the archives out, and I can point you to some examples of it. Certainly people want to know.
But yeah,
Some interviews,
that's the Gracie. That's really like the simplest
Yeah.
way to answer that without really opening it up. I'm
Yeah.
sure and people like Jay are watching along, and I know there's a lot more we could really explain. And say,
Yeah,
but that's the simple way.
We gave you the Reader's Digest version in like a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
But there's so much content that was done on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a lot of just like I don't like that show, I'm not gonna go, or I just don't feel like it, or like we don't need it. It's just kind of like, hey, you know what? It doesn't make sense for us to go. We're not gonna make any money off of it.
Yeah.
If we go and spend the money, it doesn't make sense. Or
Yeah.
it's political in the case of the Big Four.
Yeah.
And they have their reasons, and that's something that they need to work on with PCA
Yeah.
separately. But yeah, I mean that's really it.
Yeah.
Coop, was there anything about TPE that you did have questions on that maybe
No.
you weren't able to find out about, or maybe something you didn't see or something like that?
I mean, the big thing I'm waiting for, and I haven't seen it, and I haven't seen anyone publish anything on it. I'm really curious of the attendance numbers.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm kind of waiting on. And look, I've heard some mixed reports on this. Is what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I've heard some people say there was more traffic, and I heard some people say it was slightly down. And I don't know where to do it other than I really need to see the attendance numbers to make a fair assessment. So I haven't asked for them yet. I kind of wanted to see if some of the media guys who went first would get them, just out of respect for the people who are at the show. So
Right.
I'm hoping that happens first, and then once I see it, maybe I'll just ask them to send me something as well. But I want to give the media folks who were there a shot to do it. And if that doesn't happen, so I'm shocked they haven't sent it out yet. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't say what it was because I wasn't there, but I've heard mixed reports on this. It wasn't a ghost town, that's what I'll say, but I heard mixed reports.
It was, in my opinion, it was definitely very busy. Now, was it busier or slower than other years? I don't know, but it was at least busy.
Yeah.
As one show was busy. I'm sure. I wasn't at last year's trade show, and the reason why we didn't even choose to debut TPE was because of that reason of being too close. We were like, look, we're not doing this twice, so we chose PCA because we said if we're only going to one, we're going to PCA. I'd be curious to see what it was last year, especially with the state of the pandemic being a little bit further back at that point, and it being the first trade show. Actually, it was one of the first trade shows overall in Vegas since
Yeah.
this thing was shut down. So I'm curious to see if what that was, just because of that reason. Because it would be hard to compare that to this year, because this year was a little bit different. It was a very more post-pandemic feel to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, we didn't go in May because it was too close to getting vaccinated. We didn't know if we were going to have vaccines in time. This year it was a combination of things. It was a logistical thing versus weighing out some priorities. And in hindsight, when I look back at it, I probably should have found a way, even if it was a little one-man show, to be out there this year.
Hmm.
Maybe not necessarily do the video coverage, but we had two. Ben and Bear had moved into new homes, so there was. I had some because I still have a day job. I have to take time off from, so I kind of opted not to take the time off from it. And then, if we get it sponsored, you have to deliver something back to that sponsor. And I didn't think we can deliver what we said we were going to, what we would have been able to deliver. So, I regret that I made that decision, but there were valid reasons why it was made. It will be changed next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we'll be back at TPE next year as well,
Yeah, yeah,
as well as PCA. We will always go to PCA as long as it's being held. We will be at
yeah,
PCA.
absolutely.
I would
The
say
granddaddy.
going into TPE, I had a lot of people, even Coop, like, hey, I don't know if it'll be worth the trip, and blah blah blah. And I had other people telling me like, I don't know, it's a smaller show, and, to go all the way out there. And we ended up deciding to go, and I'm glad we did because it was
Yeah,
better.
I'm
It
glad
was
you
it
did
was
too.
it was better than I anticipated. And Coop, I think you're right. I think that clearly, I think you have a little bit of a regret of not going, and I think based on our conversations in the past, I think you would have been pleased with this show, even if it was more minimal, like you said. I think
Yeah,
even if you were just still there, I think you would have been like, you know
yeah.
what, I'm glad I came. But yeah, I think next year for sure we'll probably see Cigar Coop there.
Yeah, in hindsight, what I would have did now if I had known is, hey, I would have not taken the sponsor money, right, and just kind of went and did written coverage, which is not going to get, it's not the same as video coverage. And I would have just done that. It probably would have been to the level we do at PCA, but that's probably what I should have done. I kind of felt like I let my team down a bit on that, but they were all very understanding and supportive. Because, like I said, there were other there's so many other facts that we have only finite amount of time we can take off from our day jobs on these things too. And we had Pro Cigar and TGS. So those were but next year we'll figure this out. That won't happen again. Is what I'm gonna tell people. Yeah, we will be there. Someone will be there. Whether it's me or a combination of us, we will be representing us there, and we'll be doing what we always do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you make some good points too. And there's a lot of events that happen. You got PCA, TPE, TGS, Big Smoke, Pro Cigar. For those who go to TAA, you
TA
know,
don't want us there. They don't
no,
want us anywhere near
well, I don't mean us
well,
specifically,
yeah,
but just
yeah,
in a general sense, in terms of events overall.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
you have all the things like the Heritage Festival, Rocky Mountain. You have all that stuff too. So there's a lot
yeah,
of different stuff. There was DE25 that was never happened, but the Barn
yeah,
Smoker. There's a lot of cigar events outside of even just trade shows. That one could go to. And yeah, you kind of
yeah.
have to be a little strategic with how you pick those events.
You do. I mean, like I'll tell you, the event I really want to go to every year is just so close to PCA is Rocky Mountain.
Yeah,
Even if I just go to have not cover it, right?
just for the
I want to
enjoyment.
go. Yeah, just for the enjoy. Like Great Smoke, I'm not gonna cover Great Smoke like an event, right? But I'll be writing some stories coming out of there, and I'll be having conversations, and they'll be able to get some tchotchke on that, because it's a unique event, so I'll kind of maybe focus on that. It's not gonna be focused on, hey, we hung out with Pete Johnson and had a good time,
Right.
uh, or uh, or you know what, the food was really good here, that's not what we're gonna do on Coop. But I've always written an article like on unique things I've tried to find out of something like the Great Smoke, and there's been some interesting trends I've gotten out of it. So that's what we'll tend to. We're not gonna do video down there, for sure. We may Bear and I may record special edition down there, but that's still to be determined. So
Yeah,
um,
we have we'll get some coverage from it because I want to get something. I don't think it'll be um
you could even do yeah. It could be more agile, is what I'm saying.
yeah, I'm gonna get it's not gonna be like I'm not gonna tons and tons of video. I mean, there's gonna be a virtual aspect to it too. So I mean,
Well,
you
again,
know,
and I want to, and actually, that's really important. I actually want to respect Abe on that piece too.
yeah,
I don't want to, I want to make sure that Abe's spending a lot of money to do virtual. I don't want to compete. Not that I could compete with him on that, right? But you know what I'm saying, right? I want to be respectful. Hey, if he has soccer up there for an hour, I don't want to be putting up conflicting content with that. I could get soccer on our show another time, So
Yeah, I mean, for me, it'll be like just kind of grabbing some tidbits, um, stuff that maybe didn't get seen on virtual, a general write up after, sure. There'll be maybe
yeah,
some cool photos, behind the scenes
yeah,
stuff, sure, absolutely.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's not gonna be like a trade show coverage of like the whole. No, no, there's no need for that. And like you said,
No,
with
no,
Abe doing the virtual, you don't want to take away from that either.
no, no, definitely
He
no.
put so much into that. You don't want to be like doing your own coverage of it, and it's like what the hell. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
so you know, also not to mind the fact he's trying to sell tickets for it. So it's like then you just start
Yeah,
broadcasting it out there. It's like, well, the people who didn't pay for it, I mean, they didn't need to. So yeah, you don't want to do that either. You want to try to keep it exclusive to the event. So
yeah, yep.
I think that, but I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good Great Smoke. It's gonna be fun. Last luau.
I've never been disappointed from a great smoke. So I think Abe's a little worried about this year's because I think the challenges of doing both of these are really becoming real to him right now. If you heard Bear Show, and even a little bit of him this morning, I think he's gonna have to make some adjustments to that next year.
mm,
I think it's been tough. I mean, give him credit, man. He's going through it. So I'm sure it will be still great, but I think it's not been easy, is what I'll say.
yeah, I think that he deserves a lot of credit either way. Even if it
Oh,
flop, it won't flop. But like even if it
it
flops,
won't fly.
he
An
he
Abe event.
deserves a pat on the back.
Abe has never flopped an event.
No.
I'm going to tell you that I've been to tons of Abe events at Boynton Beach in West Palm Beach. This will not flop. It may not come to what he wants, but I'm sure it will. I'm sure no one's going to go away disappointed.
Yeah, and he puts so much time, money, and effort into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you have
He
to give
does.
him credit, regardless of even how it goes. You have to give him credit just for the attempt and the work that it goes in. You know what I mean? It's not easy at all. I mean,
No,
it's crazy.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's good. Good. They no details unturned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
yeah, it really is, and he cares about everyone having a good time. So he really does. I mean, that's one thing I can tell you.
oh yeah, he's a great host. Anyone who's ever gotten to spend time with Abe in person and personally, I will tell you, it's awesome because he's so genuine. He's great to be around. He takes good care of people. He wants people to have a good time. He wants people to be happy. When he takes the time, to be around people, and yeah, he just does it right. And look, a lot of people know him. He's honest, Abe. He says how he feels. Sometimes he says things maybe you don't like, you don't agree with. Sure, but he just tells it how it is. He's just very honest, like the name says. He's just honest. He just doesn't lie, and he's just like, hey,
He
this
doesn't
is how I
lie.
feel.
He's not gonna
But
bullshit you.
but
He's
he's
not gonna bullshit you.
also
Yeah.
he might come across as people might there might be a misconception with like, oh well, he's like kind of like a rude guy because no, he's not. He's actually a very caring guy. He's a very nice guy. He cares about people a
Yeah,
lot.
he
He
does
really
very
does.
much.
He's just very honest. If he don't like something, he's like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the
I'll
truth.
never. Yeah, yeah. And you want to talk about caring? When I was going through a big job change a few years ago, I wasn't calling Abe for a job or anything, and nor did he offer me a job. I was looking really to get Abe's perspective on a direction. I needed someone just to kind of talk to, and for some reason, and Abe gave me all the time I needed, and gave me some like foundational advice on what to do. And very like told me direct things and not directed when because I was debating whether I wanted to pursue the cigar industry full time, and it really turned out he made a lot of sense to me. I wasn't ready to go into the cigar industry full time based on what I'm still doing and
Yeah,
the lifestyle I was living. So
sure.
so he was an enormous help to me, and I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
I haven't known him as long as you, but in the few years that I have known him, he's always been he's been great. He's been great to me and Nicole. He's been professional. He's been helpful. Um, he really he's a good guy. I mean, he's one of the best.
Yeah.
He's not the only best,
Absolutely.
but he is one of the best.
He's a yep.
He's definitely closer to the top. And he does a great job. Even just with the retail end of it too. I mean, there's a lot of retailers. There's a lot of he does online and in store. I will tell you, both are really awesome. His online business is the website and it's great.
Yeah.
If you ever get the chance to go to a smoke-in, especially if you go to Boynton Beach, it's great. It's fantastic. Really nice place. Well kept. Great staff. Educated staff. Helpful. The coffee is fantastic. If you ever get to try the coffee.
Oh yeah, those cappuccinos.
The
Did you
cappuccino
get the
with the
sugar sticks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh
That shit's good.
yeah, 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 yeah.
No, they do it right. They do it right down there, 100%. So, nothing but love for Big Delicious. We love him a lot. So, and
Absolutely.
we appreciate him having us on KMA today. That was a great time. Well, I mean,
Yeah, it was
you
very
get to go
good.
on every week, but
Yeah, but I normally don't do the whole show, and it was funny they had me as a guest. I'm like, am I a guest? But I was a
I
little
really
nervous
am a
because
guest.
I gotta be honest, Abe wasn't lying. They had nothing in the notes. So Paul had pinged me to say, hey, do you have any topics? And I'm like, I was half asleep yesterday. I was so I was like, I can't think of anything tonight. I'm like, yeah, I figured we would just figure it out tomorrow. But I was nervous. I was a little nervous. I ain't gonna lie to you. Abe wasn't exaggerating on that piece. There was nothing in the show notes on it to talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it was good that way. Everything was just kind
Yep.
of natural.
Yep.
At least with the kind of conversation we were having.
We had
Um,
a good group. We had a good group there this morning too.
yeah,
Just everyone was great. Yeah. Abe had a lot of bad experience with online media early on. He used to do this thing called the Bloggers Corner. But it was a lot of the written bloggers who weren't comfortable in front of a camera. And they all kind of like laid an egg and he got rid of the Bloggers Corner before that. I'd like to see it eventually come back. Even if it's something like what we do quarterly or something like that, I think it would be a great thing to do.
yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Like a round table of everyone together.
Yeah.
Sure, I think it's a great idea, and it's something
Yep.
that I even thought about doing, hosting through Smoke and Tobacco by inviting everybody on, because
Yep.
I'm like, it is a great idea. Every once in a while, just get everyone together on one feed and host it public to
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
share our thoughts with everyone else,
Yep.
and we can bounce them off each other. I think that's a great
Yep.
idea. Just like
Yep.
I liked how it was you actually who had Abe, Jeff, and Dave on all together.
Yep.
That was
And they were
very
all
interesting.
competitors and came on. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I never thought that show was. To me, that show surpassed my expectations. It was definitely our show of the year for sure. Because I just didn't know if people wanted to hear retail talk. I was like, because retail talk bores me most of the time. I'll be honest with you. So I was worried about, but all these guys bring like Dave, Abe, and Jeff bring an intangible quality that let's give it a shot is what I said. But I was nervous about. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was very nervous about that show because I didn't know how people would react to it.
Well, the one thing about that show that I think is very unique is, and this isn't to discredit any other retailers, but I mean, you had 3 of the biggest retailers ever, all on one.
Yeah,
all on one feed. I mean, they're all powerhouse retailers too.
Yeah,
So I mean, the experience that they all have, and the level that they operate, is very unique. And to have them all kind of share that together is an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I'll open it up to more retailers going forward. So I know Jay's going to be invited at some point on our show. So he's, I promise you, Jay, on that. But it was not. I was just nervous. I was always nervous about if people would be interested. And it turns out people are very interested in it. So I had to learn something out of that. That now I don't have to be afraid to. Because even when I've had those guys on individually, I've usually tried to avoid the retail conversation because I just was always worried it's boring, right? But I learned a lot from that, and people like it, and I liked it. So, sometimes I have to be. Sometimes I'm a little stubborn in my ways, and I learned a lot from that. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to answer this message. So Mitchell is along with us, and he's commenting along. I just want to go back.
I have
to
a
this.
package for Mitchell. Mitchell Sand.
Yeah, Mitchell Sand. I think
your package is on your way, Mitchell.
I think the online portion will suffer before the in-person part, and I think he is afraid of people expecting what happened last year online to happen again this year. Could be a valid point. Yeah, valid point.
Yeah, I think because it was magical last year. But I'm telling you, it's gonna work because they're gonna be able to capture the vibe. What they're gonna be able to do this year is this is what we went back to talking about PCA. Remember, Abe was talking about doing this in a separate area, and now he's moving it in. That because logistically it didn't work. That's gonna be a blessing in disguise because people are now gonna be able to have the vibe of that in person show. So I think it's gonna work for him.
To kind of circle back forward, Jay Davis, I wouldn't bore you if I was on your show, Coop. You should have like 5 small retailers and have them just tell funny anecdotes. Interesting. There you go.
Yeah, no, very good job, Jay. Yeah, good job. Like I said, Jay was tremendous on he was on with Aaron on one of our recap shows, and then he was on Meet the Professor. So Jay's like tremendous, and like I said, go to Blue Smoke of Dallas. Call them up if you're looking for cigars. I mean, support guys like Jay. I mean, absolutely. Jay is a friend for life.
Um, the last thing I want, because I know you're tight on time tonight. So
Yeah,
one thing I wanted to bring up, that we already brought up, especially with Jay watching too. We brought it up on KMA today, but it was the story that came out from PCA earlier this week.
yep. Yeah, the statement that they made. I know you talked about it with Pete the other night too, and I did a good job with that.
Yeah, we touched on it lightly. I didn't want to.
Yeah,
I just didn't want it to take a because those things we could go 3 hours on. So I touched on it
yeah.
lightly just to kind of bring it up, but um, if you want to lead into it, I'll let you kind of run with it, um, and we can kind of talk about it from there. If you
Yeah. So I actually think it was a like this has actually been one of the bigger stories to hit this year.
so
Um,
far,
yeah. I mean, it's probably the not as far as it's already been like I think in the top three in terms of like read stories on Coop, and I was surprised more people didn't go with it. But PCA issued a statement on what they call responsible marketing. And in particular, the statement emphasized the fact that marketing that makes use of characters, foods, or candy associated with children's interests are never appropriate, even when targeted for an adult audience. And, basically, PCA is going to be having ongoing conversations and getting feedback on steps that they can take internally to protect the premium cigar industry as well as the pipe industry. There'll be PCA and board members will be soliciting input on this topic from many others, and in the upcoming months with surveys, retail visits, and focus groups, with building up to the release of a strategic advocacy plan at the 2022 PCA trade show. Bravo job. I disagree with Abe on this. I thought this was a bravo job by the PCA. I support it. And I think the conversation needs to happen. I understand you don't want to tell people how to run their business. I get that. But the conversation needs to start happening. Education needs to start happening. Awareness needs to start happening on this. The only thing I was a little, and I've said this a couple times already. I thought it was a little to say it was a rare problem. It's a rampant problem. It's not a rare problem. It's a rampant problem right now. And the other thing I'll say is I think retailers need to take some responsibility on this too when you're putting these products on the shelf. Now, where do you draw the line? That's a big philosophical debate. I could lead right into my beef of the week right now if you want.
yeah, I think so. Sure.
All right. Please stop telling me we just want to have fun. Please stop it. I don't want to hear anymore that manufacturers just want to have fun. You can have fun in a dozen different ways where you don't need to put cartoon characters or food references on your cigar brands. All right, look at Drew Estate, look at Fuente, with Carly does some of the stuff with Opus X. Look at other examples. You could still have fun. Please don't give me any more of this. We just want to have fun. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. This is in the cross eyes of people in Washington right now, and I'm sorry, we can't have fun with these things right now. We got to have fun with something else right now. I'm tired of hearing about we just want to have fun. It's my beef of the week.
No, I mean it's interesting, and it did get brought up today. And we talked about it, and I agree that it is something we have talked a lot about on this show. few things come to mind. I mean, I brought it up with Pete. Pete kind of made a
He
point.
talked a lot about monsters with it too. You asked him a very direct question on the monsters, which I asked him too, and he was very
Well,
he was very honest with some of that stuff.
to be honest with
Things are
you,
changing.
I mirrored a little bit of because when you had him on last, I thought it was a great show and a lot of
Yeah,
good things were brought up.
you
I
got more out of him. You got more out of him on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of took what you started and I tried to get back into it again. To be honest with you.
Right. Well, because
Um,
now the organization took a position which is different than when Pete was on with me. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and one point that got brought up when Pete was on was like, the food stuff, not as bad. I mean, food's food. I brought up he defended it a little bit, but I still don't agree. Like for example, the one that had the Cookie Monster band on it, it looked like the Cookie Monster with the eyes and the blue. I mean, come on, that's a Sesame Street character on a cigar band. I mean, how much more like kiddie does it get?
Yeah.
I mean,
And look, I'm going to say
that's
this:
probably going to be the
Pravada's
worst
getting
one.
away from that. I'll give Pravada. They're getting away from that piece though. So I'm going to say that I'll defend because that was Pravada. We talked to Brian about that, but it was. I mean, there's no question. It was. It was. That's probably the most dangerous one we saw.
Yeah, I mean that one for me, um, like the Sigabun. That falls in the food category though. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
but when you get it, yeah,
But the
yeah.
but the but the Cookie Monster one, man, I was like, I can't even. I have to disagree. I can't even find a
Yeah.
way. It's just, and again, this is not even an attack on Pravada. So all the Pravada people don't get all defend. It's not even about that.
No,
It's
no, because other
just a
people have done it. Other people have done it, by the way. It's
yeah.
not just them.
That's just like the first one that comes to mind because I just think like when in this argument, when you talk about the kids and tobacco and all that, and you put a Sesame Street character on the band, I mean, it's hard to argue that when they go, oh, you're targeting kids, you got a Sesame Street character on the band, and you go, well, no, we're just trying to have fun, and I get that, and maybe that's true, but it's also like, I mean, on their end,
And I
they're
get
going,
to
dude,
that.
you got a child's character on the band. I mean,
Look, and I get to that. The fact that you have to be 21 to get in a store, right? To buy that product. But hear me out on this. You put that picture on Facebook and Instagram. Is there anyone stopping a 14-year-old from, or not, let's say a 7-year-old? A 7-year-old should be on Instagram, but you know what I'm saying. It's still
a
when that's
well
out there.
underaged person.
A well underaged person could still see that on a personal Facebook page, right? Right. And oh yeah, then the next thing is someone in Congress sees that picture. This is where that's where the argument about being 21 in the store completely falls down.
Right.
It completely falls, and that's why I'm a little cautious about even like, I've been a little critical of the chop suey chopstick. Look, my kids love to play with chopsticks when they were younger, right? So I'm like, it's just we don't need to go there, is what I'm saying. There's so many ways you can have fun, right? That's why do this and why fight this? This is not something we need to fight on. There's other things that you can have fun with. Like I said, I look at some of the Opus X names as a great example. Some of them are better than others, I'll say. But and by the way, if you think people aren't looking at this in Washington, I'm not going to toot my horn, but I'm telling you, I've seen Senate reports with media stuff in there, including mine. So it's been out there. So I'm just saying, if you think they're not noticing it, they are. So PCA is not doing this to, I think, stifle. I agree with them. They're not trying to stifle creativity at all. If this creativity was put in a different direction, like, the sky's the limit. But there's a reason why they're doing this. They believe me. This is not. I don't think this is something they want to take on.
No.
But it's a prevalent enough problem, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I'm just gonna basically echo what you said too. I
So
mean,
the dilemma I have is, do I continue to cover these products? And the answer is, I think yes, because look, if you're going to be dumb enough to put it out there, I don't want to say, but you know what? If you're going to put that out there and we're going to cover it, and I'm not gonna be the one that has to deal with it in the long run. But it has to. I think it needs to be covered out there. Um, Unless it's a trademark infringement or a trade dress infringement. Those are the ones I'll stay away from.
Um, Mitchell had made a point. Look at Blackbird, amazing marketing and super fun, yet has nothing to do with
Yeah.
kids. It's a great point.
Oh, and we just had Jonas on the show, and my goodness, it was fun. I'm learning about birds and everything like that. Like that's fun. That is fun. Yeah, totally. Look at what Drew State. Look at Drew State. Some of this. You have fun with some of their stuff too.
They do.
You know,
They
you
do it.
do. You
They
do.
they have fun with it in the right way.
Sure. I mean, they've had some pretty interesting cigar names and stuff like that, but nothing that I think you'd ever have to worry about. I mean, I think Swamp Thang may be the only one I probably wouldn't have done, but although that's probably the only one I'd pick on with Drew Estate with is the Swamp Thang.
Sokka
But
did,
otherwise,
Sokka
everything
did
else.
he did the frog juice. That was kind of funny.
He did frog use. I mean,
Yeah.
red meat lovers. I mean, it's hard to pick on stock. There's a group out there called the Red Meat Lovers Club. So and you know that. So I get it. It's yeah. I picked on Sakura about creme brulee, by the way, and he got a little mad at me. But it's for the same reason.
Most
It's
kids don't
just
even know what
it's
creme brulee is anyway.
yes, the brulee. I mean, yeah, that was the only, and he got a little mad at me on that one. So I won't go back there again. But and he, but I understand his frustration. He's trying to do something, but like I said, this is just like this is fight over characterizing flavors right now, which is really a big thing. Worry about it. If they're saying a cigar tastes like chocolate, but there's no chocolate in there, I mean that's where all this is coming from, and that's why the PCA, I think, is doing a very good job. I don't think the PCA should issue mandated regulation on it, but it's getting to a first step where they're trying to do some level of self-regulation. And I think the way to do it is to educate more than anything, not like put a set of edicts. And I think if they take that education approach, this may not be a bad thing, and I have faith that the board and the executive committee will do that. I have a lot of faith in that. So
Make the argument this way: it's like the flavor when someone tells them characterizing flavors, they're not doing it to be like, oh, it's like chocolate. You know what I mean? It's like it's a note of like what it will remind you of. It's the same way the wine industry. I mean, how many times have you looked at a bottle of wine? It's like, oh, the wine, it's a velvety wine with a chocolate forward, and it'll finish with like a hazelnut. Right? Like, it's just a characteristic of the wine. No one's looking at them being like, oh, well, we got to take away wine because kids are going to see that the wine has a hazelnut finish. And they're going to go, oh, I got to have that wine. Like, kids don't drink wine.
If wine was in Congress, though, you'd see a different take on it, I bet.
Yeah, and
if prohibition alcohol was in.
I don't even know any underage kids who, like, look, underage kids, they get alcohol and they drink. They always want beer. Sometimes they want liquor. When's the last time when you were a kid, you heard your buddies being like, Will, we got to get a bottle of Cab. No, no one says that.
Look, I got three boys, right? Who the last one just turned 21. Believe me, they're not doing that, right?
No.
So they compare like it was pretty cool when I gave my son some of my Woodford Reserve. He's like, "This is really good." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "How much is this?" And I told him, like, "I can't afford that." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Don't drink mine either." So
most kids that I've come across, like, you just mentioned cigar, and they're like, "Ew, cigars are gross." Like, just because of the smell, most kids find it just so pungent. They're like, that's gross. I don't see kids lining up to get a cigar.
It's very interesting when my son's friends come around and I start talking cigars, and I give them a little education on it, and their eyes sometimes there's something really, and they start asking questions, and like, I never knew. They go, "I never knew that," and they go, "Well, do cigarettes do that?" I'm like, "No." I said, "This is a totally different product." That's what I'm explaining to them. And it's so wonderful to see like these 20, 21-year-olds eyes opened on this. And not that they're going to go out and buy. I mean, I never forget my daughter got married, and I gave the bridal party cigars, and it was they were just blown away. Davidoff Nicaraguas I gave them, right, in the tubes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I mean, it was just like, wow. They had cigars, but never anything like that. I mean, never something that premium. Now, how much is this? Like, it's about $20-something a cigar. They go, I won't be able to afford that for a while. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, no.
And these were people already graduated college, so even then, they have still discretionary income. So
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think should be addressed because the reality is like I don't think many kids are even interested at the idea of cigars, but it's hard to even argue that point when you have certain products being marketed in a
yeah,
certain way. So even if they're not going for it, it looks like they are. And I agree. And you know what? This industry gets enough shit and has a big enough target on its back
yeah.
already. Why make the target even bigger? You know?
No, there's so many other ways you could have fun. That's why I keep going with.
Yeah.
Please, yeah. There's so many other ways. You guys are so creative in this industry. Let this one go for now, please. You know, and this wasn't meant to pick on Justin about the Sunday gravy or anything like that. Justin thinks I pick on him sometimes. No, no, it's look, I'm just looking out for. I'm looking out for everyone, and I want to see all you guys make tons of money in this industry. So I think the heart's in the right place there.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, the industry doesn't make any money, then the industry collapses. So
Yeah,
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 they should sell cigars
yeah,
to make money, no matter who it is, no matter what brand it is. They gotta sell product and keep the industry going. It's just,
yeah.
don't make the fight harder than it needs to be. Um,
No, no, it doesn't need to be harder. This is not the time to say, well, yeah, we are getting singled out. Let me say, we are getting singled out. We have to deal with it right now. And the answer is not going to be sitting back and saying, well, the liquor industry does it. That is not the answer here. When the liquor industry,
that's a different game.
the different game, when they're not in the same position we are,
Nope.
there's a survival aspect here, and that's why PCA is doing this. But I don't think they'll take a heavy-handed approach with it. I think it'll be education and advocacy, like they mentioned, and that's the way to do it. And
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what some of the feedback they come back with is. I'm pretty very interested in that. I look forward to that press conference this summer at the trade show. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too. I
So
think that's gonna be a good one.
yeah, yeah, I
Um,
do too.
I am looking at the time. I know we're running out of time.
Yep.
I know we're on a tight schedule for you tonight, and I don't want to keep you
I
too long.
appreciate you being flexible. Yeah, I appreciate your flexibility. Thank you.
No, it's fine. I mean, we're running about the same time we normally do anyway. But we're
Yep.
probably going to end it just about here. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we do shut it down?
No, I think everything. Like I said, I think we're getting back into the regular season right now, as far as our media brands go. So I think we'll be kind of in the regular season till PCA comes. So it's kind of good. We got year-end stuff kind of moving behind us, and obviously TPE behind us. So I kind of look forward to the next few. And obviously we'll all be getting together in a couple weeks in Florida, so
Yep.
that'll be very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really
Yep.
excited about that. That'll be a great time.
Yep. Yep.
But with that, we're going to call it a night for Spare Notes. Thank you to everyone who's watching and listening at home.
Thank you.
Always remind you to like and subscribe. Check out smokeandtobacco.com and cigar-coop.com. We will be back in 2 weeks. We have Charlie Minato joining us on the Smoke and Tobacco Show this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Same time, same place, Facebook and YouTube, as well as podcast channels after the show. We have been here live. I missed this in the beginning of the show. We have been here live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios in Boston, Massachusetts. And from Indian Trail, North Carolina. Coop, thank you for joining me once again. I appreciate
Thank you, Matt.
your time and company.
Always love doing this. Yep.
It's a great time. I think this is a show that we look forward to because there's a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
We get
There's always something to talk about. Yeah.
So,
There's never a dull moment in this industry. Yeah.
I thank everyone for listening and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.